Even when I talk, it's just shakti and energy and just take it in. Today is a very important day for me and maybe for all of you as well, but probably most of you don't even know it. But today is the day my teacher, Rudi, was born on January 24th. And, to me, that's always a special day because without Rudi, I wouldn't be sitting here doing what I'm doing today, connecting with all of you and trying, through the deepest effort I can make to help you all as well as myself have a spiritual life. I mean, it's what he passed on is was to me the most extraordinary thing that he bequeathed, after he left the world. And that's this double breathing exercise. I say it all the time, but it's really true. It works. It worked for me. It works. It's worked for many people, and it certainly enabled Rudi to develop the spiritual life that he developed. And miraculous enough, I've been all over India. I've been in Nepal. I've sat with gurus and rinpoches and swamis and this one. I've never known anyone to teach this particular exercise. There's something in Tibetan Buddhism called Tumo, which is vase belly breathing. But in order to learn Tumo, you probably have to be sitting in a Tibetan monastery for 20 years. Of course, it's one of the highest levels of yogic Tibetan Buddhism that they teach. And the incredible thing about this work is somebody walks in the door and they're basically just given it, They're shown this exercise, which has really to do with learning to breathe in the belly, learning to breathe in the chakra below the navel, learning to develop a chakra system, learning how to use the breath and the mind consciously. And basically that is the craft. It's the craft of meditation. It's what makes everything I do work. It's what made everything that Rudi did work. I mean, every book I've ever written, everything I've ever done, has come from this energy source that is deep inside myself. And what enabled me to tap that energy source was the ability to do this double breathing exercise, having learned it and having practiced it for many, many, many years. And how Rudi developed this, he never told me, I'd never understood, but it's kind of a miraculous gift he had, to study Hinduism and to study Buddhism and to have rinpoches in his life, to have swamis in his life, and to come out of that with something that is so applicable to the kind of life that we live today that I never found anything in India that even got close to it. That really can get a human being strong enough to deal with the kind of world we live in today, the pressures, the tensions, the difficulties that we have to deal with. So for me, today is a very precious day. It's not only today, but the 21st of February, which was the day my teacher took his samadhi. These are probably the two most sacred days of the year for me. And, it's days I have to stay quiet, I have to do my inner work, and on top of everything, I have to be enormously grateful that this young kid of 25 years old walked into an art gallery, in the West Village in New York and met his guru, which, I once said to him, I said, Rudi, what happened that day? He said to me, Stuart, I saw you looking in the window of my store and I saw my son lost in the universe. I just pulled you right in the door. It was a miraculous day. It was a miraculous day he was born, and it was a miraculous day that he took his samadhi. And to me, it just brings very deep and profound gratitude, because this double breathing, what I learned from him, has guided everything I do in my life. And he told me, he said, you'll never be me. If you want to be me, you'll be a second-rate Rudi. If you want to be Stuart, you'll be a first-rate Stuart. And I decided years ago I wasn't here to copy my teacher. My life has been very different. You know, everything I've done in my life has been very different. Some of the things similar. I mean, I was in the art business. I teach this meditation, but the whole course of life was very unique and different to the way he lived his life. But what was the same was the taking in of the shakti, using the double breathing exercise to develop a chakra system that allowed my life to be unique. You know, not to be a copy of my teacher or a copy of anybody. And if anybody tried to copy my life, God bless them if they even try. I mean, it would be almost an impossible thing to do. It would be an impossible thing to copy Rudi's life. But what we can do is use this inner work to have our own unique and wonderful connection with God, you know, to build inside ourselves a system that is strong enough to be able to become a vehicle for spiritual energy in the world. Now, and mostly in the world, we think, oh, that's a very cloistered kind of way of living. Trust me, it's not a cloistered way of living. I mean, my life has taken place, and, you know, I've been in India 40 times. I've been in Europe, I don't know how many times. I've been all over the world. I've been in South America. I've had ashrams. I've had businesses I ran for 20 years. 25 years. This has been anything but an uncloistered life. I've written a dozen books, and all of it came from this double breathing exercise, the ability to open to higher energy in the universe. And the miracle is that anyone can do it. We have to have the need, we have to grow inside ourselves, and we have to really have patience and allow the energy of a higher nature to work on us and develop our consciousness, you know, and to give us the capacity to find our own unique connection with God. So this is a very precious day for me. And I'm just trying to share with you how precious it is, because if Rudi wasn't born, I wouldn't be here today. I promise you that. I guarantee it. I probably wouldn't even be alive today the way I was going in my life, if it wasn't for him. So God bless this day, and I hope every one of you really open deeply inside and try to find the gratitude in your heart, the simple, you know, knowledge that we're doing this meditation. And this meditation was developed by a very great master, you know, who I met when I was a young man, and who truly had the time and the patience to train me. And I would say beyond anything, unconditional love. Because if he had to deal with me, he could deal with anybody when I was younger. So God bless you all, and just try to find that gratitude and understand how important this meditation is. And I'm not talking from having read about this in a book. I'm talking from living experience of what I've been through in my life. So we'll have a meditation class, try to open and try to go very deep inside. And after the class, if anyone has any questions they would like to ask, I will be happy to try and answer them. Unmuted everyone, and if anyone has a question, I'll be happy to try and answer. Yes.
Yes. When I do the meditation in my weekdays, sometimes I can't go deeper. And then the only way I've experienced this a couple of times, that the only way to go deeper is by trying to be thankful for the blockages or the negativity that I'm feeling, sort of. And I find that extremely difficult at times, but it seems like it makes me go a little bit deeper. I don't know the question here, but.
Well, the question is simple. The negativity is just, your teacher. The negativity is telling you that you have to go deeper. You have to be more grateful. You have to be more open. You have to find more sweetness and love in your heart. That's what it's telling you. It's a great teacher. And if you look at it that way, it is no longer your enemy. It is just laying out simply, you have blocks inside you. In order to get free of those blocks, you have to go deeper. So instead of getting upset because these things come, be grateful for them. And it's not masochistic, you're just grateful that something in life is showing you that you haven't arrived yet. You are not God, you haven't become perfect. You have work to do on yourself. It's a very healthy thing. And if you see it that way, it could change the way you look at your life. You no longer get upset when things get a little negative. They are your teacher. They're telling you what you just expressed. I have to get more gratitude, more openness in order to break down the negativity. It's a very important teacher, and it's not an easy teacher, because who wants to live with negativity, But, we all do. We have to do something about it. And instead of beating our heads against the wall and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, feel gratitude deeper, feel more open, feel more love inside yourself. Be thankful for the things that are wrong with you, because those things are really the best teachers. And do exactly what you said. You have to go find more gratitude, more love, more thankfulness that something is showing you that you have no choice in life but to grow. Otherwise, that negativity is like a cancer, just spreads, takes over. And, it takes over. So that's the battle of dragons in a human being. Learning how to transform your negativity to a spiritual life. And I must tell you, it's something amazing to learn, because then you no longer live in a negative world. You live in a world of, learning what you have to do to grow. And all the external negativity, the madness that goes on in the world, it's just reminding you that you got to get free of it. You got to get stronger than it. You have to get more open in yourself to get free of all the nonsense that goes on in the world. So it's no longer negative, it's the teacher. Just as positive energy is the teacher. And when you get to that state, there's no longer negative or positive, there's just the teacher. Life is the guru. And if we learn to listen to life, we grow very quickly. And instead of fighting with it and rejecting it and getting depressed for weeks and months and getting upset and angry and, find more gratitude. That's something showing you haven't arrived yet.
So,
I remember once, I'll tell you a story. I was walking down the street. I was living in my teacher's house when I was younger. I was the first person to ever live in his house, study with him there. And living there, when I first moved in, it was like a palace. I mean, I was surrounded by the most extraordinary art, from Tibet, from India, from China. It was unbelievable, the things he had in his loft. And I lived there, and then one day he invited about anywhere from 10 to 20 people to come live in his house, and I had, from that point on, I had nowhere to sleep at night. I would come back in the place I was sleeping, somebody was sleeping there. So one day I'm walking down the street with him, and I said to him, Rudi, I said, this is really, I'm going crazy, but I don't have any place to sleep at night. So he looks at a weed growing in the crack in the sidewalk in New York City. And he said, that weed has more courage than you do. I mean, imagine being a weed growing in the crack, finding life in a crack in a sidewalk in New York City. That weed has more courage than you. I never opened my mind, I never complained again. I learned. I wasn't there for anything but to learn how to get a spiritual life. And I have no reason to complain that I got this, you know, and 2 weeks later, he used to go to India a lot. He would go traveling a lot. And he said, okay, Stuart, when I leave my apartment, his apartment was upstairs, it was a beautiful apartment. He said, you can stay in my apartment. I mean, it really brought a tear to my eye, you know? So things change, life changes, and we have to look at the positive that's going on in our life, what the universe has sent us to grow, and not identify with the negative, because everything always changes. As we grow, life changes. More opportunities make themselves available to us. So I always just look back and laugh. Every time I saw a weed in the sidewalk, I thought the weed has more courage than I do. And it used to make me laugh at myself, you know? And I understood I was there for one reason, that was to get a spiritual life. I wasn't there for comfort. I wasn't there to have a great place to live. Those things came later. I've had extraordinary places to live in my life, you know? But then I was there to get my spiritual life. And he had to remind me of that. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? So I must just finish this all up with saying, today is a precious day. Today my teacher was born. Without my teacher, honestly, I wouldn't be here today. Everything he taught me. And I have a lot of gratitude for you all being here, sharing this. Many of you probably don't even know what Rudi looked like, you know, but it doesn't matter, you know. I mean, he lives inside anybody that does this meditation. And he and Nityananda and these very great saints will guide people in their life. So today's a very special day. 21st of February was the day he took his samadhi. It's also for me a very special day because it was almost like the beginning of my life when that happened. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
I wondered if you could, hey Stuart, I wondered if you could talk about going deeper and expand that a little, because when I go inside myself, I can dig up traumas, but I don't feel like that's the only thing. Often I can go to a center point, but then again, sometimes I feel like I mistake that center point with almost falling asleep, you know?
You know,
so
all the
yeah,
things
if you could
just,
talk about going
all
deep.
the things you just mentioned, the traumas, the falling asleep, they're basically what I explained before, that the resistances to you growing, you know, and they exist inside all of us. We all have those situations. And, you know, it's like the old fairy tale, you know, I mean, the knight has to slay the dragon in order to find the maiden in distress. We have to slay our traumas. We have to, you know, we have to get past our traumas, our tiredness, our insecurities in order to find the maiden in distress is the shakti that's wandering blindly inside us. So we need to find it. And we need to go through. I mean, you know, it's like in the old, you know, sagas, you know, in Norse sagas and German sagas, they always had these forests with trolls and demons that these people had to go through. And it was a metaphor for human beings going deeper, and there are always resistances on the path. There are always, the Mirkwood, there's always resistances there. There are things that are trying to keep us from moving forward in our lives. And then we, in a sense, have to be that knight. We have to have that sword of wisdom that can slay the dragons in us and understand how important it is to get to the other side of these resistances, in ourselves, because that is really what going deeper means. Because on the other side of all those things is your spiritual life. And we set up those resistances because there's always a fear in us of changing, of stepping into the unknown. And years ago, I realized 95% of all creative energy exists in the unknown. And crossing that void from what we know into the unknown, it's one of the great journeys in life. And then there you find all those resistances. So the resistances are not unhealthy, they're not negative. They're just reminding you, hey, you got to do this work. You have to get, there's a damsel in distress. There's a pot of gold on the other side of your dragons, which you got to get to. And then it takes the will, it takes the work, the patience, the doing of it, the tenacity, staying with it. And above everything, the need to have a spiritual life, because that need will allow you to work through anything. I mean, your resistances, your anxieties, they're no comparison. There's no competition if you really have a need for a spiritual life. That will get you through anything. So on the other side of these things that you mentioned, that's going deeper. That's opening. I mean, it's like drilling for oil, you got to go through miles of rock and all kinds of, layers of earth and to get to a pocket of oil. And we're the same way. We have that kind of thickness in us, and we have to get through it. And the meditation exercise, its purpose is to help us get through, to get to that pot of gold, to get to that gusher of oil, that place in us which really connects with higher energy in the universe. So don't be deterred by that, because the things you mentioned are just reminders. You got to do it. Otherwise, that's what you have the rest of your life. All those traumas and anxieties and things we bury in ourselves because we're afraid to face them. And this releases them. And then we can do something about it. We can flush them out of our system. We can transform them into chi, into energy, harmony, balance, and open heart. That's growth. That's going deeper. It takes courage, it takes guts, and it takes determination. It takes a need to have a spiritual life. And a spiritual life is not walking around being holier than thou and smelling from a little incense and eating vegetarian food. And, that's part of it, But a spiritual life is really opening and having the strength to truly get past the things that are blocking you inside. I mean, I meet people, they walk around saying namaste to each other, and they think that's a spiritual life. It's not a spiritual life, just namaste. Spiritual life is really slaying the dragon, opening inside, going deep, having the courage to do it. And then out of that fire, it's like the smell from incense, the sweetness comes out of that fire that's burning all of the garbage inside. And then there's that sweetness, that love, that surrender, that compassion, and it's real. It's not just a varnish that we put over ourselves in order to pretend that we're doing spiritual things. It comes from someplace so deep inside. And it's all that garbage in us, all that tension in us, just burning. And it creates that sweetness, that love that comes out of the heart. I hope this is all clear. It's clear to me. I hope you all begin to see that there's really nothing negative in life. Everything is the teacher. Some lessons are very difficult to learn, but everything is the teacher. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, well, happy Rudi's birthday, everybody. And God bless you all, and thank you for being here. And there'll be a class Tuesday. I hope you all attend. Unless you take all this and just make it practical in your daily life. That's the key. And bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bless you.
Thank you.